So, a little background. I did my undergraduate in the Comparative History of Ideas program at the University of Washington. And what I looked at is comparative mythology in a contemporary context. I went on to do my postgraduate studies in business through the art of story. And it's through that lens that I contextually am looking at the media as cultural and social phenomena.
Check this out. What do you think it is?
Doesn't matter who owns your local TV station. While polls show Americans are increasingly worried about so-called fake news, they also show that many trust their local news more than other sources. The largest owner of local stations in the country is Sinclair Broadcasting. A viral video of Sinclair news anchors has again raised concerns about the way in which the company mixes news with partisan political opinion.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
I ran into this article on March 3rd when people still were not taking this pandemic thing seriously, and I read this article, How Pandemics Change History. And what I'm looking at is a dialogue that's happening on a global scale between the biggest empires in the world. And this is just a taste test. This is just a start and snapshots for the purpose of research, education, and to get people thinking outside the box symbolically in terms of how these narratives are shaping history in our society and culture right now. So I'd really love to have your feedback on what you think. I'm opening with this Art of War quote by Sun Tzu. It is said that if you know your enemies and know yourself, you will not be periled in 100 battles. What do you think? October 18, 2019, Wuhan, China. Pre-corona. 7th Annual Military World Games.
Welcome to the 7th Military World Games here in Wuhan, China.
Over the course of 10 days, 9,308 military athletes, including 67 world and Olympic champions from 109 countries, are participating across 27 different sports in the host city of Wuhan, central China's Hebei province.
我宣布，第7届世界军人运动会开幕。
If anything kills over 10 million people in the next few decades, it's most likely to be a highly infectious virus rather than a war. Not missiles, but microbes.
Bill Gates Foundation. Same day as the Military World Games.
The outcome of the
pandemic
exercise in Event 201 was catastrophic. 65 million people died in the first 18 months.
October 18,
the outbreak was
2019.
small at first and initially seemed controllable, but then it started spreading in densely crowded and impoverished neighborhoods of megacities. From that point on, the spread of the disease was explosive. Within 6 months, cases were occurring in nearly every country.
Now, despite admitting that his country is in a struggle against a demon epidemic, Chinese President Xi Jinping has expressed confidence that China will win the battle against the coronavirus outbreak engulfing the world. Here's our Kim Hyo-sun with the details.
The word he used in Chinese means foreign devils.
Meeting the Director General of the World Health Organization, who is in Beijing, describing the epidemic as a demon, the Chinese leader said he will not let the demon hide. He also pledged that the Chinese government would be transparent and release related information in a timely manner.
And the U.S. is charging a top Harvard scientist along with 2 Chinese researchers over hiding China ties and payments. Edward Lawrence has more. Edward, what's going on here?
Now, the latest, as you said, the chair of the Harvard Chemistry and Chemical Biology Department facing 5 years in prison and $250,000 in fines. Charles Lieber developed a bio-nanoelectronic sensor that could detect one particle of a disease and a wire that is thousands of times smaller than the human hair. He got $15 million in grant money from the Department of Defense and National Institutes of Health starting in 2008. Now, under China's 1,000 Talents Plan in 2012, he signed a contract with Wuhan University of Technology in China for $50,000 a month, plus significant living expenses, as well as $1.5 million to set up a lab. Now, the U.S. requires disclosure of foreign income for those grants.
Gates Foundation. Pandemic exercise.
It began in healthy-looking pigs, months, perhaps years
October
ago.
2019.
A new coronavirus spread silently within herds. Gradually, farmers started getting sick. Infected people got a respiratory illness with symptoms ranging from mild flu-like signs to severe pneumonia.
October 18,
the sickest required
2019.
intensive care. Many died.
And if somebody dies from influenza, are we doing post-mortem testing to see whether it was influenza or whether it was COVID-19?
There is a surveillance system of death from pneumonia that the CDC has. It's not in every city, every state, every hospital.
So we could have people in the United States dying for what appears to be influenza when, in fact, it could be the coronavirus or COVID-19.
Some cases have been actually diagnosed that way in the United States to date.
Welcome back. The Chinese Communist government appears to be pushing a new account of events that presents President Xi Jinping as taking early action to fight coronavirus, according to today's New York Times. But in doing so, the authorities there are also admitting for the first time that Xi Jinping was aware of the virus before he first spoke publicly about it. Meanwhile, Arkansas Senator Tom Cotton has been calling out China for its response to this outbreak, suggesting the virus may have come from China's biological warfare program. The Chinese ambassador to the United States responded this: "It's very dangerous to stir up suspicion, rumors, and spread them among the people. For one thing, this will create panic. Another thing, that it will offend up of racial discrimination, xenophobia, all these things that will really harm our joint efforts to combat the virus." Of course, there are all kinds of speculation and rumors.
As the world battles the coronavirus, a different kind of war is going on, a war of names. For the first time, President Trump used the name Chinese virus in a tweet, and a spokesman for the Chinese Foreign Ministry, Geng Shuang, is not happy. He called it a stigma against China, saying the Chinese regime strongly opposes it. This comes amid mounting evidence the Chinese regime is trying to change the narrative. When Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Zhao Lijian posted a video claiming the virus did not originate in China, but rather was brought in by the U.S. military.
China is working behind the scenes to downplay the coronavirus outbreak, even going so far to falsely accuse the United States for starting it. This tweet from a Chinese government spokesperson claiming that the U.S. Army brought the virus to Wuhan. Amid a global pandemic, why the blame game? South China Morning Post, Dean, is reporting that the first case happened in Wuhan, patient 0, back in November 17th of 2019. So I don't know how China's going to prove that.
肺炎的疫情是发生在中国，发生在武汉，是的，但是它的源头不等于它的源头也在武汉，没有证据，这是个科学问题。那么也就是说，通过分子生物学进化的观点是能够搞清楚的。现在没有搞清楚，没有搞清楚以前就随便下结论，我看是不负责任的。所以我现在我自己还不知道源头是在什么地方。我记得在一次会上我讲过，疫情发生在中国，源头是不是一定在中国，我不知道。特别是这个病毒的加系、跟分子生物学以及病毒的进化这方面的话，将来会有答案的。
The global economy was in a free fall. The GDP down 11%. Stock markets around the world plummeted between 20 and 40% and headed into a downward cycle of fear and low expectation. Businesses were not borrowing, banks were not lending. Everyone was just hoping to hunker down and weather the storm. Economists say the economic turmoil caused by such a pandemic will last for years, perhaps a decade. The societal impacts, the loss of faith in government, the distrust of news, and the breakdown of social cohesion could last even longer. We have to ask, did this need to be so bad? Are there things we could have done in the 5 to 10 years leading up to the pandemic that would have lessened the catastrophic consequences? We believe the answer is yes. So, are we as a global community now finally ready to do the hard work needed to prepare for the next pandemic?
It's kind of just an open question. I really love to have your feedback on what you think. Comment below. how this material speaks to you, and share it.